podcast is proudly brought to you by Middle Tennessee State University College of Education. A special shout out to Dr. Kat for all the support and inspiration. We're excited to have you with us, so let's dive in.
Welcome back to Red, White, and Who, an educational podcast dedicated to telling the lives, history, and impacts of our United States presidents. This week, we'll be focusing on the one and only Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln once said, "The best way to predict the future is to create it."
He was born in a log cabin, taught himself law, and became one of the most important presidents in American history. Abraham Lincoln led the country through the Civil War, helped end slavery, and gave some of the most famous speeches ever. But there's so much more to his story. Today we're diving into the life and legacy of the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. My name is Autumn Claybrook.
And I'm Carly Hopper.
And this is Red, White, and Who.
From humble beginnings to the presidency. Before Lincoln became one of the most famous presidents, he had a very different life, one that didn't seem like it would lead to the White House at all. Let's take a look at how he went from a log cabin in Kentucky to the leader of our nation.
So Abraham Lincoln was born in a log cabin in Kentucky in 1809 with little formal schooling. He actually went to school on and off for a total of about 1 year, but he educated himself by reading borrowed books.
He loved reading and learning, which helped him become a lawyer.
It's crazy how he became a lawyer after just having only 1 year of schooling on and off. He was elected as the 16th president in 1860, earning the nickname Honest Abe. Fun fact, Abraham Lincoln was called Honest Abe because of his reputation for honesty and integrity, especially while practicing law. Lincoln embraced the nickname and worked hard to maintain it. Leading through the Civil War and ending slavery. So Lincoln worked hard to become president, but his biggest challenge was just beginning. When he took office, the country was falling apart. States were leaving the Union, and soon the Civil War began. So how did Lincoln handle one of the darkest times in U.S. history? Let's find out.
From 1861 to 1865, Abraham Lincoln guided the United States through the Civil War. As a war leader, Lincoln employed the style that had served him as a politician, a description of himself, incidentally, that he was not ashamed to accept. He preferred to react to problems and to the circumstance that others had created rather than to originate policies and lay out long-range designs.
So during that time, in 1863, he ended up issuing the Emancipation Proclamation, and this was something that freed enslaved people in Confederate states. Lincoln announced on January 1st in 1863 that any slaves who lived in the United States that had rebelled against the Union were now free. His proclamation was the beginning of the end of slavery, which officially ended in 1865.
He went on to give the Gettysburg Address, one of the most famous speeches in history. Legacy, assassination, and fun facts. Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War changed the nation forever, but sadly, he didn't get to see the full impact of his work. His life was tragically cut short, but his influence didn't end there. Even today, he's remembered as one of America's greatest presidents. But before we wrap up, let's talk about some surprising and fun facts about Honest Abe.
Starting off with some surprising facts about Honest Abe, on April 14th, 1865, while attending a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., Unfortunately, Abraham Lincoln was shot by Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth.
On a lighter note, he's remembered even today for preserving the Union and ending slavery.
Another fun fact is he was 6'4", which was the tallest president, and stored papers in his hat, and was a skilled wrestler.
That was even a surprising fact for me because I never would have thought that Abraham Lincoln would be a wrestler.
Same thing with storing papers in his hat. Like, how big did that hat have to be?
Abraham Lincoln was more than just the 16th president. He was a leader who guided the country through one of its toughest times, helped end slavery, and left a lasting impact on America. From his humble beginnings to his powerful speeches, Lincoln's legacy lives on today in his history books, on the penny, and even in the way we think about leadership and honesty. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. Be sure to tune in next time as we explore another fascinating president. Until then, keep asking questions, keep learning, and remember, history is full of amazing stories waiting to be told.
In this episode, we discussed the 4th grade Social Studies Standard 32, describing the roles of major leaders during the Civil War, including President Abraham Lincoln, Jefferson Davis, Ulysses S. Grant, and Robert E. Lee. For more information, be sure to follow our social media accounts at Red, White, and Who. And don't forget to subscribe to our Spotify and Apple Music podcast.